But joining us tonight here on the Hill, Congressman Jake Auchincloss, Democrat from Massachusetts, who's back on the show this evening. Congressman, thanks for being with us here on the Hill. We're going to hear from Donald Trump momentarily. We heard from Kamala Harris earlier today. What is the right response? Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, what do you think is the right response from our leaders that at least you want to hear from either both sides of the aisle when it comes to Israel at this moment in time?
Thanks for having me on this evening. On the one-year anniversary of October 7th, politics really should not be center stage. This needs to be about the victims and the hostages. We owe it to the more than 1,200 individuals who were massacred 1 year ago. We owe it to the hostages who are still torn from their families living in these terror tunnels underneath Gaza to center them and their experience and their memory today. Right after we speak, I'm going to be going to an event with the greater Boston Jewish community, and not a single politician is going to speak. We're going to sing together, we're going to mourn together, we're going to hold close the hostages together, and that's the way it should be, because the one-year anniversary is a day of remembrance and reflection coming during the high holidays for the Jewish people. It's not a day for political grandstanding.
The remembrance and the commemoration taking place today and then on October 8th and beyond, Congressman, the questions will continue about what happens inside Israel, what happens in that region. We learned today that President Biden did not speak with his counterpart, with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Why, and is that a mistake?
The Biden administration and the Netanyahu administration are in close collaboration on a daily basis. Just because the two principals are not speaking doesn't mean that there is not intelligence sharing, military sharing, and of course, diplomatic collaboration. But you used a word earlier that I think we should double click on, the questions going forward. I would use a different term. I would say the two different stories going forward, because fundamentally that is what we are contesting. There is one view of what's happening in the Middle East that is a story about the Israelis as settler colonialists who are the oppressor of an oppressed people. And then there's another narrative that Israel is fighting on the side of freedom and democracy against barbarity and terrorism. And what we need to be able to do here in the United States and in Israel is to rally the rest of the world and freedom-loving people everywhere to understand that this is fundamentally a fight for freedom against terrorism, and Israel and the United States share that fight together.
So you talk about the fight going forward. The vice president was asked in an interview, Congressman, whether or not Benjamin Netanyahu is an ally. And at the vice presidential debate between Senator Vance and Tim Walz last week, they were both asked about what they would do, how they would advise going forward as it relates to the war and the situation in the Middle East. I want you to take a listen to Kamala Harris's response in the 60 Minutes interview and to J.D. Vance's answer during the debate, and I'll get your reaction on the other side.
With all due respect, the better question is, do we have an important alliance between the American people and the Israeli people? And the answer to that question is yes.
And we should support our allies wherever they are when they're fighting the bad guys. I think that's the right approach to take with the Israel question.
Does it concern you how the vice president answered that question, especially compared to how the vice presidential nominee on the other side of the aisle answered?
No, because she answered it like a stateswoman should answer it, which is to say democracies are messy, certainly ours is, and our alliance is not always manifested in the principles that we wish that we would work with. I am deeply frustrated with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I've been clear about that for years. He has missed the opportunity to help architect security and governance structures in Gaza that would truly marginalize Hamas and ensure its long-term defeat. What Sinwar fears is not Israel. He fears Fatah. He fears an alternative for the Palestinian people that makes his nihilistic agenda seem hopeless to them. And Netanyahu has not allowed that to come to the fore with partnerships with the UAE and Saudi Arabia and the United States and others. So I'm frustrated with Netanyahu too. But that does not change the fundamental maxim that the United States and Israel are two freedom-loving democracies fighting against the Islamic Republic of Iran's 50-year mission to destroy the Jewish people and to destroy democracy and freedom in the Middle East and beyond.
Congressman Jake Auchincloss, Democrat from Massachusetts. I know you're on the move tonight. Thanks for being with us here on the Hill. Appreciate the time, sir.
Nice to be with you.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.